are live right now on our YouTube and Facebook and here on Instagram. So in just a second here on Instagram, Allegra will be joining me. Thanks for joining us for our weekly chat on Thursdays at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And you're live here with me and Allegra. And we are together, Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, BYWD, and we are committed to you learning how to prioritize yourself better because we're learning to prioritize ourselves better and help you learn how to save time and help you learn how to achieve your goals. So so glad you're along with us on this journey for self-improvements. I mean, like, I don't know if you want to call it that exactly, but what we like to say is just, getting to live a life that you love, right? A life
by design, right? A life by design, not by default.
There we go. And so, if you want to call that self-improvement, I guess you can, but overall, we're just talking about, making things easier and putting yourself first.
Yes. I mean, I once heard someone say, humans are not wine. We don't automatically become better with age.
Right? You can't just, if you just sit around in a cask, things aren't going to work out great for you, probably.
No. You're going to be very pale if you're sitting around in a cask.
Very pale, probably wrinkly, you know what I mean? Like that wrinkly thing that happens.
Yeah.
But also,
you
you
have to work on it.
Which I feel like sometimes is like daunting, right? Because it's just like, oh my God, I'm never done, right? Like I'm never done. And that doesn't mean that, you aren't already worthy, whole, perfect as you are right now. But then we also don't want to necessarily be stagnant either, right? So I'm just having to keep adjusting my camera here. Because the nature of the universe is change, right? Mm-hmm. And so if we don't find ways to help ourselves evolve and change in directions that we want, if we want to stay stagnant and the same, everything around you is going to be changing. Speaking of changing, everything in my body is changing, right? So I'm just realizing that I've talked many times on this morning chat about integrating the stretching into my life and how I've had this has been an up and down kind of journey because it's really just me at this point that's doing it for me. And the only person that's really going to have those benefits is me and in the way I feel. And I just started playing on a all women's soccer team on Sundays. And I'm like, oh boy, I legit really need to stretch, right? So not just stretch before the game and not just stretch after the game, but be on a regular stretching so that on Sundays, I'm not just all tight. No, this past Sunday was my first game. And so I recognize I have a lot to learn since I probably haven't been on a soccer field in 4 years.
Strategically timed sip.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
By the way, you have to look at
adorable. Where'd you get that?
This is actually a mug of my father's. I like to use it and remember him.
I like that. That's really cute. That's awesome. Yeah. So we were just discussing right before we jumped on what we're going to chat about today, and I feel like talking about this whole stretching thing where it's been like a journey for me as far as we've talked before about habit stacking, right? So now I'm trying to habit stack that in when I do my smoothie, right? So I hit blend on the smoothie, set a timer for a minute of stretching because I'm standing there waiting for the smoothie to blend anyway, right? So I might as well stretch, right? So that's where I'm trying to stack it in now. But before that, I was trying to stack it in my morning before the kids and with everything. And because I was trying to reel them into doing it with me,
right?
And my husband did, and that just never really took off. And then the craziness of pre-drop off,
Yeah.
Anyway, so it just didn't. So that's where I'm trying to stack it now. But so I'm having so maybe some of you can relate with trying new things, putting new habits in, putting new things into your routine or your ritual, and not really take. And that's been stretching for me. And Allegra's talked about how it's been meditation for her. But we also want to talk about.
Well, and let's just really quick explain what habit stacking is. And I don't have Rock Your Morning in front of me, right? So we have 4 books.
I got Rock Your Morning.
Okay.
I'm going to go grab it.
So we
Go ahead.
recently updated Rock Your Morning. And so I don't have the latest paperback. It's coming. But this is our newest book, Rock Your Holidays. I'll just talk about this while Natasha's gone. It's the ebook is 99 cents. Like all of our books, it's a short read. It's a workbook. And we talk about habit stacking in Rock Your Morning. And habit stacking is this idea of using an already established habit, kind of like a train engine that already has momentum, and then adding on a new habit that you're hoping to form, like a new car, and letting the established habit pull you forward. And so what Natasha is saying is that she has an established habit of making a smoothie, and she's trying to do this new habit of stretching. And so she's trying to do it at the same time to kind of remind her and give her like a reason, like a slotted in time to make it happen.
Right.
So we stack it. Habit formation.
Exactly. So, and that's so yes, thank you for giving the definition of habit stacking.
The
right?
rundown.
So I like to say like it's a train, and like your new habit is like a new car that you just stick into your already existing morning train, right? And this is how you. So that's so you can see how I'm trying to stack stretching with the smoothie that I do every day anyway. It used to be I was doing my smoothie and then I would do my supplements, but I have established that habit and that's happening. So I'm like, well, let's keep using that smoothie train, that smoothie car.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of this to say is that like maybe now because of soccer, and having to have like a more, just a more tangible reason to be more flexible.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of tangible reasons. Like you want to be flexible, as you age, and makes a whole host of things really important.
Yeah.
Much easier, important things easier. But we were just talking about habits that, when you see the benefit of them, especially when you see the benefit of them like right away, how much easier it is to keep up with that, right?
Yes.
And I was sharing with Allegra, she has a morning ritual that part of her morning ritual is clearing her dish rack every morning. And you like to say like that doesn't seem like a ritualistic thing to do, maybe, right? Like, but it does what for you? What are the benefits for that for you when you empty your dish rack?
Well, at night, I tend to clear the counters in the kitchen. And there's some things that end up in the dish rack because they're too big to, put into the dishwasher or whatever. And for sanitary reasons, I want them to dry overnight. So first thing in the morning, I clear the dish rack so that I have some time when I'm standing in the kitchen, drinking my warm lemon water, taking my supplements, and I just get to enjoy the calm of a cleared space. And it also helps me because if I don't clear the kitchen rack, then when my husband and child wake up and start using things and they'll wash things, they won't know if what's in the kitchen rack is stuff I just put there or stuff from the night before. And so then they'll start putting newly washed dishes on, which now makes the already dry dishes unsanitary. Sorry, I have a food safety license, right? Because I used to have so that bothers me. And I thought to myself, like, look, I'm the first one up. I'm the one benefiting from this clear counter. So I'm going to clear the dish rack for the family. Like that's going to be my thing. It's funny too, because I'm listening to this book called Storyworthy, and he talks about how he fights with his wife a lot, but in his mind, they don't actively fight, but she'll ask him to do something and he'll like, like this, I shouldn't do this. I don't have to do this, right? Like this isn't my responsibility. And then 5 minutes later, he'll be like, but it does need to happen. And who else is going to do it? And so then he does it, but he does it like loudly banging things, and then he realized like, well, that's so passive aggressive. And like, why do I think like I shouldn't do it? Like, why should she do it? Like, and so it's funny when you have those moments, you're like, well, why should I clear the dish rack? And then I'm like, well, first of all, it doesn't take that long. Secondly, I am benefiting from the calm. And thirdly, like it clearly doesn't bother them the whole, like, is it sanitary? Is it not sanitary? The way it bothers me. So sometimes you just say, you know what? I'm going to do it because I'm taking that task on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I do benefit. We have to like, it's very nice and calming.
and there's other, and there, right. And there's other places to, negotiate, like, someone else doing that task, right? Because as
Right.
moms, often we feel like a lot of things land on our plate, whether we
Right.
feel like we have to take it on or it just winds up there because
Right.
of societal pressures or whatever, or just like it's always wound up there, So there's probably other areas that you're like, you know what, you could do this. Yeah. And so one of my kids' jobs from since they were little is emptying the dishwasher, right? Because it's just now they're much bigger, but the little one used to just, he'd take care of the utensils and the older one would take care of everything else. And then if it was too high up in the cabinet, he'd leave it on the counter for me to do. Right. So it was a joint effort, but I have taken on trying to do what Allegra's talking about, which is clearing that dish rack in the morning and just going to bed. Like I've never been somebody who's like, I can't sleep if there's dishes in the sink. Like I can sleep, no problem if there's dishes in the sink, And so I'm just trying to like handle all of that the night before. Cause I've always, at the end of the night, I'm like, you know what? I'll have so much more energy in the morning to do this. Like, I don't really feel like scrubbing hands. I want to go to sleep, So I'm just trying a new habit. And no, so it's Thursday. So it's been like 4 days now where I've gotten up in the morning and cleared my dish rack and cleared the dishwasher too, even though that really is the boys' job. But I'm not going to put that in their morning routine. Like that is just recipe for disaster. We will never get to school on time and there will be a lot of fighting.
Right.
They will just not want to do it before school. So yeah, so even though that is their job, and anytime I ask them to do it, they know that they do it and it's done. But in the past, I've been like, well, I should wait for them to come home to do it because this way it's their job. But like you just said, for me to have an empty dishwasher as I work from home all day and make a dirty cup and make a thing, to be able to just put that in an empty dishwasher is, it's definitely beneficial for me than to have it stack up and wait for them to come home after whatever practice they have and blah, blah, blah. And it might not be empty till like 5 o'clock. And now I've got a pile that I have to put in, And so, yeah. So right now, maybe I'll just wait. Maybe they'll just be doing it on the weekends at this point, Yeah. But I can tell you that this new habit that I'm trying to establish of doing the dishes at night and clearing them in the morning, the benefits are like immediate. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it too much. It's almost kind of like a new relationship. Where you're like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to fix it. Like, but that kind of like mental, like, okay, the sink is clear, the dish rack is clear, like, and the dishwasher is empty and I can just start putting things immediately in there. It's just, and even though
it sets you up for success later on.
Totally.
And the funny thing is
like,
that
there's mental clarity too, to like see the other stuff that's like, because I'm not a neat freak. Like I'm not like, I have a certain threshold, but like, it's not, my kitchen isn't like sparkling clean, but like when that's all clear, now I'm kind of like, oh, that's a little cluttered. Like, you can see beyond the mound in the sink or on the dish rack, and suddenly, it's also, it keeps you a little bit inspired to like keep the rest of it a little nicer. And then kind of just hoping that's going to ripple out to my entire house. And the next thing you know, I'm just going to be somebody who just is clean. We'll see. But anyway, like I said,
I feel like
I'm already like, and then we're going to get married, like I'm like, we're going to get married and have 3 children. Okay, calm down.
Well, and I just want to clarify that putting your dish rack away is not something we recommend in Rock Your Morning. We don't tell you what to do pretty much at all. We give you a suggestion if you don't know where to start, which is with making your bed, which we've talked about, a lot before. But this is something Natascha has decided on her own. So I just want you to know that.
Totally. Yeah. Like, well, full disclosure, like you've been talking about this for as long as we've been talking about, since we started developing this book and talking about how important morning routines are and morning rituals are. And I've been listening to this book called A Slob Comes Clean. And it's really for people who are like myself, who are little untypical, neurally untypical or divergent, one might say, in where I get easily distracted in lots of different things. And so like, until things get to a certain threshold, I almost don't even see the clutter or the dirt or whatever. And then I go crazy and clean and whatever. And it becomes like, but it's instead of being like this big cycle that then I have to go through, her first and only her first thing is just do dishes at night, bring her to bed, put them away in the morning. Like that's, she's like, you don't know what to do. You don't. So like her main thing is just do your dishes, And I've never really, they've never felt like really oppressive to me, but it definitely like, I'd let them pile and then do them and let them pile and then do them. Like they never felt so overwhelming that I'm like, oh, I can't, I do have friends who like feel that way about their dishes. That's not how it feels per se, but this little cycle. So I highly recommend if you're somebody who has a little bit hard time of just kind of doing the basics, great book. Cause she's very, very straightforward. She does specifically recommend doing your dishes, right? We don't per se, and it definitely doesn't have to be part of your morning ritual per se. But 4 days in, I'm pretty excited.
Well, and so to that end, we wanted to talk a little bit today about the benefits of data and Rock Your Morning. We have a habit tracker in there, which is all designed to help you establish a habit by giving you a way to make something quantifiable that we usually don't try to quantify. And everyone's different, so I can't speak to everyone, but I do know that like personally, since I've had a Fitbit now for 3 weeks, and the data it's given me has encouraged me to make better choices, because I want, like, the days when I have a low sleep score, it just makes me that much more aware of how important it is that I get a good night's sleep the next day. And so, I'll go to bed earlier, or I'll just, I'll take a bath to relax more, whatever the case may be, to try and get that higher sleep score. And like, one thing that I was saying to Natascha was, sometimes things can feel overwhelming, but if you quantify it, you might actually be surprised by how little investment of energy or time they actually take. And so one of the things was, when family members in our house would have feel like, oh, I don't have time to unload the dishwasher when it was their turn. Right. We literally set a timer and we timed it normal speed, not like rushing or anything. And it takes less than 5 minutes.
Yep.
To unload a clean dishwasher. And so also, you're like,
this is so funny that this is the exact same thing that this author, Dana K. White, also mentions. She's like, time yourself during the task. Get a reality on what it is, right? How long it actually takes. Sometimes it may feel like it's 40 minutes because you hate it so much or you dread it so much or whatever. Right. When it comes down to it, to realize, oh my gosh, that was 4 minutes. That took me 4 minutes, not 40. Yeah. It just makes it that much easier to do it later, or, time and time again. Plus it is good. It is, a good fact to have handy when your kid or your partner is like, right, time. Like, you don't have 4 minutes. I think
and when you do it as a team too, my daughter have done it and I've done it in like, it felt like 2 to 3 minutes max. Like maybe it was even more like 2 minutes. I just like hand her a snack and she throws them up. It happens so fast. And I also feel like this is a huge mental hurdle. Like whenever I see these cookbooks that say like dinner in under an hour, dinner in under 30 minutes, I think like that's normal. That's a normal amount of time. Like it should not take, like, I feel like people build up dinner. Like there does not have to be an appetizer and dessert course for everyday dinner.
Definitely not. And I am a big fan of those bag salads where you just like rip it open, just dump it all in a bowl. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's 5 minutes, right?
Right.
So I think if people time themselves making dinner, they might be surprised that like a normal dinner can be done in under 60 minutes, no problem, under 30 minutes with a little bit of, planning, or if you're making soup or stir fry, a 1-pot meal, like absolutely less than half an hour. Like those aren't those, they use it as a marketing ploy. And I'm like, that's a normal amount of time, So like if you've built, like, I once read this thing that, 97%, I don't know how they quantified it, but like 97% of fear is imagined and never actually experienced in real life. Mm-hmm. Like fear of whatever's, on the other side of that dark alley, but you walk through that alley and there's nothing there. And so think about like whatever you have a mental block about, time it, see how long it actually takes you, and see if it's worth all that mental block space that you're giving it.
Yeah, for real. And absolutely, and I for sure am one who can justify procrastinating things like like it's like it's a profession. You know what I mean? Like I can, because for sure though, that because I'm so great at sleeping with dishes in the sink, like I can absolutely justify not doing them anytime. Like really give myself mental, I'm too tired, I'm too this, I'm too that, blah, blah, blah. This needs to soak. That's my husband's favorite. And so like those intrusive thoughts, I guess you could say, or these reasons to get in there and help like dismantle a good habit that maybe would be beneficial to you, really can get in there. And then when you time it and you find out, oh, it doesn't really take that long.
Right.
There's like, like you can't beat the clock, so to speak. You know what I mean? And the clock is a reality check that, you can't argue with. You can't argue with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
and actually same thing with walk. So my last dog, she did not exercise herself. And so we had to pointedly give her 2 walks a day, and we were really good about it. But our dog right now, Lulu, she likes to exercise herself. And so there have definitely been times where, so my husband walks her once and I walk her once. We each take a turn. And there have definitely been times where I've been like, oh, Lulu's gotten her exercise. Plus, I don't have an hour to walk her. Well, now that I have the Fitbit, I know it takes me 22 minutes to walk her. And I was like, what? 22 minutes?
Yeah. So now you're like,
I always have 22 minutes to walk her.
Yeah, for sure. And those mornings, like part of our morning ritual is to take that walk after we drop our boys off. We take the dog for a walk, but sometimes we get chatting in the morning and sit down, drink coffee. And the dog is like, I always joke with my husband. I'm like, could you imagine that like your ability to relieve yourself depended on other beings? You would be so screwed, because he doesn't go in our yard. He just won't. He won't go. He only goes on a walk. So that's annoying for you as a owner. But we have such a tiny yard, and he's such a big dog. It's actually also a blessing, because if that dog used our yard as his bathroom, it'd be nasty. But so I'm always just like, oh my God, could you imagine you had to be like, can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the bathroom? Can you take me there? I really have to go. You know what I mean? Like, because he'll get like that, And so that obviously gets us out the door. But there are mornings where we chat, we sit around, and then he has to go to work, and we don't wind up taking him for the long walk. We do about 1.5 miles if we go together. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's almost 9. I really am behind now. I don't have an hour to do this walk. It's not an hour either, by the way.
Right.
It's 5 minutes, but but then I start justifying like, okay, I'll just take you out really quick and we're going to come back in. And that sometimes that happens, and that's life and whatever. But, the reality of it is that it's way shorter than I think it is. It's really good for him and I. We make sure there's hills in the walk, like, get the heart rate going, kind of thing. Although he does like to sniff a lot. And I'm just like, dude, I'm trying to get my heart rate up. Stop sniffing. Like, gotta keep going. He's one of those dogs. So it's really easy to talk myself out of it, but to get that reality on it. And my husband and I we're doing the best we can to like come home, and we're just like, don't sit down and don't pour that cup of coffee. Like, we can do this after his walk,
right.
Just so that we make sure we definitely get it in. And so that's part of, we're in week 7 now of back to school. So we're just, we're back into this routine to a degree, but we can find ways to kind of just get better reality on it. Just keep. In fact, you know what? Maybe I'm going to track. That's a good idea. I'm going to make a note. I'm going to track, because we do this obviously 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, but we still try to get that walk in together if we can. But I'd love to track like when we take him for the long walk and when we take him for the short walk, because the long walk fits all of us, right? So this way, my husband and I are both trying to just make sure that we get, movement in every day. And this is just one part of that movement, puzzle, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to make notes myself right now to make a tracker for when we do the long walk 5 days a week.
Well, and I just want to say that something that I was not aware of, that again, this is data from the Fitbit, was I had mentally thought that to get into fat burning mode of cardio is more difficult than it is. When I walk my dog, it is literally 96% fat burning the entire walk. So, because it's keeping track of your heart rate for you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, because you always hear these things about like how walking is, such a keystone for fitness. And you think, okay, well, yeah, getting my steps is great, but did I actually get any cardio workout? And
Right.
well, fat burning mode, you can actually get real more easily than I had thought. Now, getting into
Right.
the pure cardio where you're actually working your heart definitely takes a little more effort. But depending on what your fitness goals are, you might be really happy with, oh my God, 22 minutes of complete fat burning. That's awesome. So,
Especially with a dog like yours, whose motor is like, and
no,
my
well,
dog
she's
is
a
like,
sniffer too.
I know.
I do like make her keep going, but even when she does sniff, like I'm always surprised, like, oh, my heart rate's still in that zone. Like the fat burning zone is actually, I think, lower than most people think. Like
All
they,
right.
they say to walk like you're late for a meeting, but that doesn't mean late for a meeting and huffing and puffing. That just means like
Right.
late for a meeting and trying not to sweat through your clothes. So, so like faster than normal, but not speed walking, but
So
faster
like,
than your
so
kid
there's
would walk.
walking, there's late for a meeting walking,
Right.
there's speed walking or like, right. And then
Right.
I love this one comedian, Sebastian Maniscalco. He goes, the valet jog, where you're like, they're running off to get your car. The valet jog,
Yeah.
like it's not really a jog, but it's like it's a little bit of a spring in the step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so tracking, getting a reality on what you're actually doing, what's actually happening,
Yeah.
and
Quantifying.
having devices that, if you have the means to get a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, they do those similar things. I think almost all of those kind of watches have some kind of, health tracker type things, is a great way to get a reality on what's happening. And this way you really know what's going on as opposed to what we imagine what's happening.
Yeah.
Or yeah. And
And I
it's
just want to
important.
say too of that about the Fitbit, because my mom has an Apple Watch and I asked to borrow hers just to see if I would like that. And I found it to be really heavy. So it actually was keeping me up at night because I was aware of its weight. So that I was like, this is not going to work for improving my sleep. So the Fitbit is, I want to say it's around $100. And I think for what it does, it's really good and it's light. And hey, maybe it's even something I haven't looked into it, but just because what's that time open enrollment's coming up, like it might be something you could pay for like out of an FSA or something like that. So,
Yeah.
worthwhile, or even like, hey, if you're part of Buy Nothing, see if someone has one that are not using, because, right, like we all fall in love with things and then fall out of love with things, whatever. You might be able to get one
Right.
that
Or maybe
way.
they got the latest model and the old
Right.
ones still works just fine. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it
I
is
mean, I
really
know that.
nice and light and waterproof up to 50 meters or something. So
Yeah. So you can swim with it.
yeah. And do
Right.
dishes like without worrying about it. Right. So
Yeah. My son's got the Apple Watch and they have like all different sizes and they have ones that are lighter, and then they have the stainless steel ones, which are pretty heavy, and they have bigger ones and smaller ones. And
yeah.
so there's a lot of different sizes, but, yeah.
And if you don't sleep with it, it's fine. But like, since sleeping was my main reason for getting it,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't wear it if it's keeping me up. That's
Totally not.
counterproductive.
Yeah. Definitely not. My son doesn't sleep with it on. Definitely
Yeah.
not. Not.
Well, thanks for joining us today. And just a reminder, our new book is out, Rock Your Holidays. The ebook is 99 cents, like all of our books. It's a short read / workbook, because at the end of the hour that you invest in this, we want you to have a solid plan for not just having a magical holiday season, but having one that is also more peaceful and calm for you, because you've prioritized what it is that you want to do and you've come up with an actual plan for executing it. So for every 1 hour you spend in planning, they say you save about 10 hours in doing. And we feel like we can deliver on that promise with this. And it makes a great gift because it's available now. And you can find that at, I'll put the URL, but for those that aren't on Insta, it's tinyurl.com/RY holidays. And also, of course, if you go to our website, bywdreams.com, we always have links there to all of our books. And we also have our wait list is open right now for Harness the Power of Planning. Natascha, maybe you can talk about that as I try and get this URL.
Yes, absolutely. Harness the Power of Planning. It's coming up in I was going to say December. No, January 2024. Perfect time to do this. Perfect time to go ahead and take our 2-day life design course. So it's 2 Saturdays, 2 consecutive Saturdays. First Saturday is all about excavating. We like to say excavating your goals and your dreams and the things that maybe you've been buried under or been burying, and really bring those to light and maybe even come up with some new things. And then day 2 is all about executing. So we have a week in between where we're available for, homework and, or just checking in with us and getting yourself through that week to get yourself ready for the execute, where you basically take what you've excavated and put it into a plan, and a plan that works on the daily and works long-term, because we're really all about you achieving your goals and stop putting yourself on a back burner. So that's the Harness the Power of Planning course, and that's coming up in January. We have a wait list open right now for that.
Actually, you can even just register right now.
Just register.
We have a discount code.
That's
So
right.
it's January 20th and 27th. So 2 Saturdays. And if you can't make it for the entire time on the Saturdays, the videos will be recorded and available to you for 3 months. And the code that will get you almost 50% off is Red Hot 2024. Red Hot 2024.
Damn, Red Hot 2024. I love that, right? It's like sizzle, Red Hot 2024. And we've had students say that it is life-changing, and that is the point. The point is for you to really just get going and continue on the trajectory that is fulfilling for you and has you prioritize yourself first, so that you just show up as a happier person in your life and you're more fulfilled, and that just ripples out to all life. Excellent.
Yeah.
So we'll see you back here this next Thursday, same time, right here on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
And feel free to comment. We do go back when we get notifications and answer any comments that show up later on. Thank you.
Have a great day.